Hello, it's Meredith here, hopping by to make you a short video where I share two things with you. One, I want to share something that I learned, and two, I want to share with you something that I made. I watched a really cool YouTube video recently where a woman shared a tool that she created for people with ADHD called a dopamine menu. So, like a regular menu you might find at a restaurant, it had sides, appetizers, entrees, and desserts. The beauty of this tool is it's fully customizable. You could create a menu that has specials, and those specials might change with what's in season. So I saw this video and I thought, wow, this is such a brilliant tool because it's so versatile and simple. And I could really see weaving this into my life and using it with clients regularly. And I decided to put my SE somatic experiencing lens on it and create a self care menu specifically for us to self regulate our nervous system when we're feeling dysregulated. And applying this specifically to when you might be in a state of freeze or a functional freeze state. So there are four common nervous system states. We have fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. And I think this tool can be really powerful for when we might find ourselves in that functional freeze state. So, freeze has different qualities and different degrees to it. You could call it dissociation, collapse, you could just refer to it as freeze. You might even have your own name that you call it when you're in this state. And there's nothing inherently wrong with this state or with any other state. We and our bodies want access to these states. These states are what keep us alive. They're important, they're essential. We're made to be able to enter into them. We're also made to be able to exit out of them. And things get a little tricky and a little sticky when we get stuck in them, which happens. It happens a lot. And it's not a sentence, right? Like just because you're in a state, or even if you've been in a state for a while, doesn't mean it's going to be that way forever. Applying the self care menu to a freeze state. So, if you're in a freeze state, you might know this. It might manifest itself by sitting on the couch and watching 4 hours of Netflix or Discovery Channel or YouTube or whatever it is, or scrolling through Instagram. So, when things get overwhelming, when life is too much, our body, our brain just says, you know what? I need to check out. I can't handle this. And it checks out. It's not a decision you make consciously in your mind and in your brain. It's a decision that your body makes. So I just want to normalize if this happens, if this sounds familiar, you're not broken, nothing's wrong. It's a thing that your body does to protect itself. And we want to be able to get in and out. We don't want to be stuck, right? Our self-care menu, we can create a menu of things that we can do to help us self regulate. So when we do the thing that we do automatically, the binging, the scrolling, we're auto regulating. We're going into familiar strategies that have helped us in the past. And it's not necessarily a conscious decision. So we want to make it a conscious decision. We want to bring it to our awareness. And the self care menu can help because when you're in a state, a heightened activated nervous system state, you're not using your creative critical thinking brain. We're just not. And so we want to do the work to come up with the things that might help us when we are in that creative critical thinking brain. So we want to put in a little work ahead of time so that when we do find ourselves like feeling like a little freezy, we can be like, oh, ooh, I think I'm feeling a little freezy. I'm going to look at my self-care menu and see what I can do about that. Okay. So I'm going to share with you a self-care menu that I created earlier today. Appetizers. Appetizers are things that just take maybe 5, 10, 15 minutes. So you're not going to fill up on an appetizer. It's not going to take a big part of your day. It's just something you can kind of nibble and nosh on to help you shift a little bit. So, an example from my menu, walking Fritz, walking my dog. He's tiny, he doesn't like to walk. That's why it's an appetizer. It just takes like 5, 10 minutes. He only goes to the corner and back. 5 to 10 minute yoga flow. Crocheting a row or two. I love this one because it uses your hands and you actually have something to like see that you've done after. You have like a visual, tangible result. Going outside and feeding the birds. It gets me outside and it gets me doing something for someone else. Eat beans. Oh my gosh. Like I could go off on this and just make a whole video, but beans are high in soluble fiber, otherwise known as dietary fiber. And the soluble dietary fiber acts like a little cheesecloth and it pulls the stress hormones out of your body. And so, just eating half a cup of beans or even just like a spoonful of beans can help lower your stress hormones, like literally, physiologically, biologically. Okay, call a friend or family member. So these are quick, simple things. You could do one or two. Sometimes you want to order like a lot of appetizers for the table. You can order and do more than one. And then we have entrees. So entrees are things like, oh, I'm really hungry. I'm really stressed. I'm really overwhelmed. Sometimes it takes more than an appetizer. So for me, an entree would be a hike in the woods, a Let Your Yoga Dance class, look that up, taking a sauna, get a good sweat, walk with a friend, taking the aerial yoga class, and unplugging. Every day, 1 hour a day, I go zero phone. I try quarterly to do 48 hours. And I go in the woods, in a cabin, and just unplug for 48 hours. You can't do that every day. You can't even do that once a week. So, not all entrees are going to be available every day. That's why we make a menu and a list. And some are going to be seasonal too, right? Like in the summer, I might have going to the pool. Sides. Sides are things you can do while you're doing something else. So, for example, I have making a cup of tea. I can sip my tea while I'm doing work at the computer. Another thing I wrote down was thinking putty. This stuff is so fun. So, you could do this while you're on a phone call or while you're reading, rolling my feet. You could do that while sitting at your desk, cuddling with Fritzy. If I'm just reading something for work, I could sit on the couch and cuddle my dog while reading. Okay, let's get to desserts. Desserts are the thing that you don't want to survive on, right? Like they're good, but they're kind of like the extras. So for me, desserts would be watching a show. Watching a show that I really like can be really fun and soothing and calming. Watching like 6 hours of a show, that's a different story. So for me, I have watching a show, Instagram, and crunchy snacks. There's some science behind why crunchy snacks are actually soothing. And it's really interesting. I'll maybe make a video on that later. But when I learned it, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not the only one. There's science behind this crunchy snacks. Again, you don't want to survive on crunchy snacks. But can you enjoy crunchy snacks? Yeah, you can enjoy crunchy snacks. Okay. So that's what I learned this week. I learned about the dopamine menu and then I created a self care menu. And I think this would be a really wonderful way to help you self regulate and to keep us out of, extended periods of binging, right? And we want to make this list while we're regulated, while we're relatively calm, while we're using our good frontal cortex, our thinking, critical thinking, creative thinking brain. That way, when we are feeling stressed, all we have to do is pick up the paper and you just order. Like, oh, I think I'd like a 5 to 10 minute flow. All right. I hope that's useful. I hope that's helpful. If so, do the things like, share, subscribe, leave a comment. And I'll include a link below where you can get a copy of my PDF self-care menu. All right, that's all for now. Take care.